What are your thoughts on how quickly things have advanced? What it feels like to be someone who laid the foundation, and where do you see things going from here?
Well, the part that I find like wicked cool is that when I started, for somebody to get into this, to actually be able to make something and put it up in a movie theater that, was of displayable, exhibitable quality, there was a high bar. It was expensive. It took to do film, you need skill.
Mm-hmm.
It just no way around it. It takes certain skills, and it also takes faith, and that's what I find missing in the whole computer graphics world. Is that in film you have to have the skill to get the exposure right, and you have to have faith that you've done it right, because there's nothing you can look at on the set on the day to know that you've done it right. You just have to know how to do it and know that you expose this at an f5.6 with an 85A filter, and that kind of stuff. And then you also have to have faith that the blind people in Rochester who made the Kodak film, everything worked right on that line, because you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to have faith that it goes to the processing facility and gets processed correctly and doesn't get x-rayed on the way or baked in the sun or whatever. There's all kinds of factors that are totally out of your control. With the whole electronic capture world, what you see on the set is what you got. So you know if you've got it or not.
Yeah.
You can look at a monitor and dial out flicker and that kind of thing. So you can make tweaks and know that you've got it, but also the equipment's a lot cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
So heck, you can shoot with an iPhone and put something up on a movie screen in a theater, and people will watch it. So it's brought the bar down. It's brought it into the realm, the reach of people, of just sort of the general populace. Now that means that there's a lot of garbage produced out there.
Yeah.
TikTok and YouTube can show you all the trash that gets produced, but buried in all that trash are some gems.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some people with skills who get the opportunity to actually do something and show their skills. And some of those people get picked up and hired. Apparently, I was reading like ILM hired the guy that does the deepfake stuff to work with them on doing their version of that.
Yeah, that is crazy, because a lot of the deepfakes that came out after some of the studio deepfakes, people were like improving them. And have you ever watched Corridor Crew by any chance? They're really they do like a lot of special effects breakdowns and things like that, and then they try to replicate it in house and make tutorials. They're really cool. But like and what you said reminded me when you were talking about having faith when you shoot like something that's going to have animation on it or an effect, that you have to have faith that it's going to come out the way you see. You actually had something to do with kind of bridging that gap a little bit with giving the opportunity to be able to see an animation in real time, right?
Well, yeah, there were some things that I worked on early on at ILM, because they were doing this computer graphics stuff with Silicon Graphics computers, but the computers weren't actually able to play back at speed the animations they were doing. They could put up a frame a second kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fastest they could get was maybe 5 frames or 6 frames a second. So I came up with a thing using a video, a VHS, SVHS actually, deck, security camera deck that recorded 1 frame a second triggered by an external trigger. So I set up a system where the output of the computer went into a converter that went into the deck, and they could then, well, when the keyboard beeped, it triggered the deck. So it would put up the image, trigger the deck, put the next frame up, trigger the deck, and then they could rewind it and play it back and see it at speed. And so it's that kind of problem solving of coming up with how to come up with something that bridges their gap. And these days none of that's needed anymore. But at the time,
yeah. I mean, I know how much of a superhero I feel like when I match the red, white, and yellow AV cords for my mom, and she's like, "Oh, thank you so much. You're so smart. What would I do without you?" And I walk away feeling like I am Lord. Like, how do you feel when you do something that extraordinary? And like, because anybody that's making films that have like struggled with something, to anything that makes that process easier for them, and especially takes faith out of the equation in any step of the way, it's got to be like, you got to be showered with appreciation, or at least know that you've done that.
Mostly it was reminding him to read the manual.
That's yeah. Oh, just now you just have more phone calls about like how this isn't working. How do I?
Well, yeah. It's that I have been technically supporting artists now for more than 40 years, and artists have a hard time with technology. Even technology artists have a hard time with technology. So they would forget how to get the thing into record mode or whatever. And I would go over to the workstation and I would pull out the manual that I wrote, and I would open the page and I would follow the steps in the manual. Oh, it says.
I don't know who's supposed to see. He's talking to you, whoever you are out there. It's
the equivalent of like beginning a message with, like I said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had a red spine on it, and it was right there with the system. And when I was out of town, I would send postcards to that team and having a wonderful time. Glad you're not here. P.S. RTFM. And that's been one of my slogans for a long time. Read the
fucking manual.
Friendly manual. Yes.
Got a little riled up there.
Or as one of my friends yesterday put it, read the full manual rather than a quick start guide.
Read the following manual. It's all there for you. Just read is the common denominator.
Yeah.
And I get kind of bothered by things these days that only have video manuals. You have to watch the video. And I don't want to watch 10 minutes of video to find out I need to push this button over here to activate that sequence.
When I'm having a problem with something, there's something about somebody in a YouTube video going, "All right, guys, so what you're going to need to do is like, I don't need to have all the preface. Don't tell me what I need to do. I already know I need to do it." That's the flip side
of that coin, though. The video that says nothing, and they're just moving aimlessly around. I'm like, no, I hate those. They have to keep
the video 3 minutes long in order for monetization.
I'm just like,
stretch what I could just read. Just give you the steps in the description at least.
Well, and that's all part of the whole podcasting world and the social media video world of making a short story long.
Yeah, and sometimes not even backing up what like you're saying. Like the information's already out there. You're just reading something from somebody else's website, and now if that was a lie, now it's told twice like it's the truth.
I do love, however, that just about anything you say fix, lawnmower or vacuum cleaner or whatever with a specific model, somebody on YouTube has done a video of territory.
Oh, you're no longer first. Everyone can say they're first. I love that. That's why I was speaking about YouTube University. When I first, I know we're going off this, but when I first started learning how to edit, I didn't go to any school or anything like that. It was just me saying I wanted to first learn how to turn a video from black and white in Premiere, and it's proc amp and saturation, and that led me down to this and led me down to that. And before you know it, you're 7 hours in, and you're like, I'm going to take over the whole world. I'm going to take over the world, man.
But yeah, and part of what I was doing along the way in there, because I built a lot of bespoke equipment for ILM. I was part of an electronics team. We built the cameras, the roto stations, motion control systems. And part of my thing is, before I go build a system, I want to learn your job. And I can really relate to Mike Rowe in Dirty Jobs, of him dropping in and learning how to do somebody's job. Because I would go and learn how rotoscoping worked and watch the rotoscopers and try my hand at it, doing garbage mats, doing matte photography, being a camera assistant, and running an optical printer. So the different jobs that the equipment was used for, I went and learned their job. I'm not great at it, but I know the steps.
Yeah. So you know a lot about one thing and a little about a lot.
Yeah. And the people that I'm learning from are masters of that craft. And so, but I can look at it and realize, oh, it takes you a little while to do that thing. I can make a button that does that for you, or I can make a box that performs that task, or modify this thing or whatever, so that I could make their jobs more efficiently, because I can see how to make a thing that does the job for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the pinnacles of ILM when they first started, is we had like one of the matte camera operators, Neil, is also a machinist. So he could do a matte painting, set up the camera and all, but he could also visualize a method of doing something that he could go make in the machine shop, rather than trying to explain it to an engineer and a machinist.
Mm-hmm.
He'd go make it and could make the system work. And a lot of the people in the joint were capable of making things work, and knew different jobs. Pretty much everybody in the joint knew something about everybody else's gig. And so that really helped bring the whole thing together and made it a lot more efficient, and just, I think, made better work.
Yeah, I think whenever if you're ignorant to what somebody's process is, it sets up the potential to just ask really asinine, counterproductive questions, or offer solutions that they've already tried. And
we are giving this in a full shot, right?
Yeah, like, come on.